The presidential election year is hotting up. The polls are narrowing. Still a big lead for Joe Biden, but Donald Trump is starting to close the gap. And the Democratic National Convention kicked off in Milwaukee today. Well, it kicked off online, really. Thanks to the pandemic, the convention is a virtual affair. No crowds, no hoopla, essentially a string of speeches with people reading teleprompters in their living rooms. Look, it wasn't just the way this thing played out online that was a little unreal today either. There was a real sense the Democratic Party exists in a parallel universe. They hate Trump. Their disdain for the president is visceral. We get that. We've heard little else from them for the past 4 years. But all they seem to want to tell us is that their country is in ruins. Democracy.
The future of our democracy is at stake. The future of our economy is at stake. The future of our planet is at stake. We must come together, defeat Donald Trump, and elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as our next president and vice president. My friends, the price of failure is just too great to imagine.
Bernie Sanders there, I was just giving him his cue, but he's going on about democracy, the economy, the planet, all being under threat. Do these people ever listen to themselves? Isn't it Trump's opponents who've never accepted the democratic outcome of the last election? And Trump was delivering economic recovery until the pandemic hit. And as for the planet, the US is lowering emissions by switching to gas, but Biden wants to ban fracking. Also speaking today were George Floyd's brothers.
George had a giving spirit, a spirit that has shown up on streets around our nation and around the world. People of all races, all ages, all genders, all backgrounds, peacefully protesting in the name of love and unity. It's a fitting legacy for our brother, but George should be alive today.
Well, we all know that George Floyd should not have been treated the way he was. He should not be dead. On that, we can all agree. But Joe Biden endorsed this line about Floyd being a giving person. Floyd, like it or not, was a drug abuser, affected by drugs at the time of his death, convicted multiple times and imprisoned many times, including for armed robbery, threatening a pregnant woman with a gun. These are not the actions of a giving person, but a taking person. The Democratic Party should campaign against police violence, of course, but it should be very careful not to deify George Floyd. Indeed, have a look at what is happening on the streets of Portland, Oregon, where, just like in Seattle and other cities, leftist protesters and anti-Trump agitators and Black Lives Matter protesters have taken over the streets, scared off the police, demanded the police are defunded, and they've taken law and order into their own hands, including inflicting sickening violence, which is too brutal for us to show you, against anyone they don't like. Sadly, the Democratic politicians have given a wink and a nod to this defund the police movement, and they've slammed the president's efforts to restore order. Yet former First Lady Michelle Obama seems to want to blame Donald Trump.
Joe Biden wants all of our kids, no matter what they look like, to be able to walk out the door without worrying about being harassed or arrested or killed. He wants all of our kids to be able to go to a movie or a math class without being afraid of getting shot.
Now, I found this parade of complaints and blame quite ugly and over the top. For instance, they even handed the convention over to someone who'd lost their father to the coronavirus.
His only pre-existing condition was trusting Donald Trump, and for that, he paid with his life.
Blaming the president now for individual coronavirus deaths. Incredibly, they put up the New York governor, who oversaw a coronavirus disaster in his state, who actually ordered aged care homes to accept COVID-19 infected patients. They actually had Andrew Cuomo use virus analogies.
A virus attacks when the body is weak and when it cannot defend itself. Over these past few years, America's body politic has been weakened. Only a strong body can fight off the virus, and America's divisions weakened it. Donald Trump didn't create the initial division. The division created Trump. He only made it worse.
As I say, no one oversaw a greater pandemic shambles than Cuomo in New York. So the hatred, division and blame are absolutely dominant at this convention already. And it's summed up here by the woman who really was the star of the opening night, Michelle Obama again.
Donald Trump is the wrong president for our country. He has had more than enough time to prove that he can do the job, but he is clearly in over his head. He cannot meet this moment. He simply cannot be who we need him to be for us. It is what it is.
Negative messages are very powerful, especially at a time of so much economic and social strife. But the Democrats are running a very feeble candidate, and just maybe voters will want a bit of what Barack Obama gave them. Remember, the audacity of hope? Imagine if they were running Michelle Obama this year. You'd be put down your glasses time. Anyway, Donald Trump provided a strong contrast to all this today, speaking at a small rally.
No one will be safe in a Biden-run America. Biden and Harris are pro-crime and anti-cop. There's no other way to say it. And we're anti-crime. We are pro-cop all the way.
This contest is as unattractive as politics gets. On one side, the Biden camp are revelling in American dysfunction and blaming it all on Trump. For his part, Trump has presided over this trauma, but he promises to fix it. Choose wisely, America.